Massive developments in the crypto space today. Welcome back to the Coinbros. This is your guide through the greatest industry on this little rock spinning through the universe in the simulation that we're all here together in. And I'm glad you're here with us. And 3 stories today. Normally, I would start with some stories about the war. We're going to keep that for last, right? But the biggest story of the day has to do with Japan. I have it right here. And nobody's talking about it. Of course, everybody's so wrapped up in the war stuff that nobody's watching these insane strides in the crypto space that we've had over the past like 2 weeks. And I think it's mainly because of price action. People, when the price starts doing well, everybody pays attention. But the infrastructure is just growing so insanely fast on so many levels. And we're going to talk about a huge story out of Japan. And that'll be first. And then next, we're going to talk about some ETF outflows. So there's a lot of whales selling right now. It's one of those things. So we'll start with the Japan thing. I'm going to read this to you guys. Japan just classified crypto as a financial instrument. So Japan, as a country, has classified cryptocurrency as a financial instrument. No insider trading bans, disclosure rules, legal framework. While everyone watches the Straits of Hormuz because of the war, Japan is building a regulatory infrastructure for the next cycle. They've always been pretty in on crypto. Like Japan's always been pretty, open to crypto. I've been there a few times, and crypto is never really been like a taboo thing there. But the fact that they're classifying crypto as a financial instrument is huge, right? Metaplanet has 40K Bitcoin. The yen is under pressure, and now crypto has legal standings as a financial instrument in the world's 3rd largest economy. I didn't know that there was the 3rd largest economy. Wow, that's crazy for such a small place. Structural, so Japan now is jumping on board. Bitcoin, crypto, it's going to be accepted as a financial instrument. I did not know they were the 3rd largest economy, but it makes sense. That's massive for the industry leading into the next bull run, and I think that's what they're setting it up for, right? I think everybody that knows what's going on understands the next bull run is probably going to be the most, probably world-changing bull run we have. I don't know about price action. Obviously, things always pump when the bull run's here, but I think the infrastructure that's happening is like really solidifying crypto as like a major player in the world. And this is just another step towards that. So shout out Japan, man. You guys know what you're doing, man. I always like Japan. Japan's dope. They seem to do a lot of cool shit in Japan, Japan's always kind of up a little ahead of the curve on a lot of things. So that's great news, right? Now let's talk about some worse news. Give and take away, you know what I mean? So we'll talk about $250 million in ETF outflows. So there's a lot of whales that are pulling their money out of these ETFs, right? And there's a silver lining there too, though. So let me read this to you. 250 million out of ETFs, 271 sold by whales. So some rich dudes just cashed out. 284 in long liquidation. So a lot of people were longing, got wrecked. Seems to happen a lot with that leverage trading and stuff, right? BlackRock had its biggest inflow in a month. So BlackRock is getting tons of inflow. They just seem to keep buying. I don't know where they're getting all this money from. They just keep, anytime they want money, they're like, let's raise another 50 billion. Just buy all the crypto up. And they keep doing it. So in their minds, they're probably stoked anytime there's big dumps because they plan on buying anyway, right? Let's go. The market's arguing with itself. So whales are selling, huge. BlackRock's buying. Everyone's just kind of crazy right now, right? But the institutions are de-risking after talks of a collapse, right? That always happens. That's pretty normal. Anytime there's uncertainty in the world, big institutions don't think like traders. They're just, they're risk averse. They're going to buy, sell. They're going to dump their any glimpse of maybe things not going their direction. They're going to sell and they'll buy back later, right? Others are buying the dip. This week's net ETF flow is the verdict. Dead cat bounce or real trend change. The data will answer what the headlines can't. So yeah, it's kind of like saying, look, the headlines are the headlines, but you got to watch the money, right? Because usually the money gets moved around before you hear about the headlines, because all the people with the big money usually get the information first and they know what's going on. They have specialists and people that's all they do is they watch what's happening, and they're always a step ahead, right? So if you can watch the money, you usually can, it follows up with a news headline like very soon after, and then you're like, okay, I connect the two. I see why the market pumped or the market dumped. So we had huge outflows of ETFs, but this happens like in, out. BlackRock, the believers are buying. The people that are just here to make money, they're selling. Pretty typical crypto stuff. And that's that, right? So we'll see what happens. Now let's go on to the war talk, right? Like it's funny, man. Like I was at Starbucks the other day and I'm sitting there and this guy, you're in line, you're waiting. And then this guy starts talking to me about the war. And I don't realize how much I know about this just because I've been following everything so closely because I'm obviously trying to understand what's going on in the market. And I'm like turning into a geopolitical goddamn whiz, bro. Like I'm like having a conversation with this dude, and I like stop mid conversation. I'm like, man, I sound like a freaking geopolitical dork right now. I actually know way more than this guy knows about what's going on, and it's solely because it's all tied to crypto. So I'm just every day learning more and more about the war when I'm not even really trying to. It's just because I got to read the headlines and I'm staying on tune with it. But it's like, geez, bro, I gotta like maybe I gotta take a step back, man, and not even pay so much attention. But it's tied directly to the crypto industry, so I'll always stay connected to whatever's driving that. But yeah, man, it's just a funny little story because like sometimes you learn so many things when you're doing this every day, and I'm like constantly reading about the news and this and that, and you don't even realize what your brain's taking in. And I could sit down with almost anybody right now and have a debate on what's going on in the war, and I'd hold my own at this point, I think, which is kind of crazy because I'm not a political guy, right? But hey, man, information's information, and it's never bad to know more stuff, right? So anyway, let's talk about the war. Okay, Trump's blockade changes the game from ceasefire to naval confrontation. So talks failed. We tried to do a peace talk. Nothing came from it. There was a blockade ordered. So destroyers in the strait. Iran says last warning. So they're saying, hey guys, this is the last warning. Like we're gonna pick right back up where we left off if we don't figure something out on their end, right? Ceasefire went from peace framework to naval standoff in 72 hours. Not that surprising, you know. It seems like we can't figure something out, right? And you never want to see things escalate, but this is the reality. The market priced a deal. So it did dump today. Bitcoin dumped. I think at the news of the announcement, I went from like 73 down to 70 or even a little under it. Sorry, a little under it, but it bounced right back up. I think we're sitting at like 72, 73 right now. So we had like a quick dump and a pump back up. And I just feel like people are just kind of like getting a little exhausted of the way things are going. And I really do think Bitcoin just has so much strength, and people are buying up any chance they get any type of dip or anything. And we're seeing it firsthand, right? You always follow the money and to see what's happening. But let's see what here. 70K is the line between the ceasefire rally holds and it's another head fake. Today decides. So we'll find out today what happens. Let's hope things don't escalate for anybody because it's never good, right? It's never good to have more war, right? Like regardless of what side you're on. It's not good for the industry. If you're just looking at like the world's economy, it's not a good thing to be in full-blown war. And if things escalate, you know, the worst thing ever is people dying, right? We never want that to happen. And the longer the war goes on, the more uncertainty there is. And then, you know, you can't really judge markets by like past history when you're in the middle of a war because there's so many different things that can happen that can just change the narrative. So it's definitely entertaining to see what happens with the market, but we've just been doing this, but we're holding that 70K line on Bitcoin. And when I talked mainly about Bitcoin, it's because Bitcoin is the king, right? And whatever happens with Bitcoin, market usually, it has to kind of follow. You know, they haven't separated yet. Bitcoin still runs the game. So if Bitcoin's doing bad, it's not good for anybody. And if it's doing good, it's good for everybody. So that's why I always talk about Bitcoin. Anyways, it is Monday. It's going to be a good week. I'm going to hit the gym. I got to get back on schedule, on track. Every single day we'll be doing these videos, keep you guys updated. Be nice to each other. Much love out there. And yeah, have a good day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Like, subscribe. Peace.